Hello, welcome back to Lumps of Life. Joining me today is Reverend, Exorcist, and the Spiritual Warrior, Mr. Bill Bean. Thank you for joining me.
Jared, thank you. It's an honor and a pleasure to be on with you. And looking forward to great dialogue back and forth that we'll have here during the next hour.
Absolutely. And an hour may not even be enough. We got started a little before this, and I finally was like, okay, we have to start this because I could talk to you for hours upon hours. We got going into the world of demons and trauma and pain and how these things will attach to you, and essentially the way the devil operates to kind of keep you stuck in these loops of hell, if you will. Um, I guess let's just kind of dive right back into that and kind of where we were going before I
Yeah.
interrupted us and stopped it.
Well, if you hadn't stopped it then we'd have been talking all evening long into the night. So, and that's okay too.
Absolutely.
But I come from a place of trauma, and so my family was destroyed by demonic forces, and I nearly was destroyed as well. I came under physical attack, regular physical attack from demonic entities between ages 5 and 12. So I know what it's like to suffer. And so I've suffered high levels of trauma, off the charts levels of trauma, to where I felt like during these experiences that I was going to die. I felt like my heart was going to jump out of my body. I also felt paralyzed. The only thing that would work were my eyes.
Wow.
And through all of that, which was hellish experiences, God was there with me, and He had an angel there that saved me on many occasions. And I'm very thankful for that. But looking back on it, Jared, I understand this now. Before I came into this world, and not just me, there are many others that God will put a calling on or a designated assignment. Yes, we have free will, but there's also our God, Yahweh, will govern some things over us that He wants us to do. And I believe that He chose me to be this spiritual warrior before I came into this world, and the devil knew it, and he was trying to kill me before I got to where God wanted and needed me to be.
Yeah.
And furthermore, in order for me to be in this position now as a blessing and a help to people, I had to be there to experience the worst of worst things. So if you call me for help and I'm this brilliant scholar, and there's nothing wrong with being a brilliant scholar, but if I've never had the experience, you and I can't come together. We're like this because I haven't had the experience. But I've had just about every type of paranormal, supernatural, and even life experience that you can think of. I've lived the life of 10 men, believe me, for the better or for the worse. And so when you come to me, we could come together like this, because there's nothing that you could say to me that I'd say, oh, well, oh, I don't know. I haven't had that. I've had the experience.
Yeah.
So it was all part of my journey in order for God to be able to work through me. And look, I don't claim to be anything. I've given over 2,500 media interviews in my career. You could watch every one of them, and you would never, ever hear me say that I'm something or somebody. I am a vessel, a man that God has chosen to work through to help people. Now, God has done extraordinary things through me in helping people from all over the world, and I can never thank Him and praise Him enough for that. But He is the one that gets the praise and the thanks and the glory and the credit. He saved me. He transformed my life. He took me from, so not only did I come from this high level of trauma, but neither of my parents lived to see the age of 50, and died tragic deaths. My mother died from cerebral hemorrhage at the age of 44, and
Mm.
she came under physical attack from these demonic entities far worse than I ever did. And my dad was shot to death at age 48. So neither of my parents lived to see the age of 50. So there was a lot of tragedy, and many other family members. I have very little family left. Many of the family members are gone, from mysterious and tragic circumstances. So this was all part of the, when a person comes under this level of trauma, and usually it starts between ages 3 and 5, then the demons, obviously, who are either they will manifest sent by the devil, or in some cases, so I've been involved in thousands of cases throughout my career. And I've helped people from all over the world. And in not all, but in the majority of those cases, there is some kind of trauma that took place in childhood. And again, it usually happens between ages 3 and 5. And a lot of the cases, it's some type of child molestation or something like that that creates this high level of trauma. Whatever it is that creates that high level of trauma, once those demonic entities are involved, and whether there is a human perpetrator that they'll work through to carry this out, or the devil has sent them to, in my case, people like me that were physically attacked on a regular basis by these entities, it's trauma just the same.
Mm-hmm.
And once that trauma is established, blood and secretions will come out of the victim. When that happens, these demonic entities are attracted to that. It is a drug for them, and it's a drug for some humans as well. It's the most expensive drug on planet Earth, called adrenochrome. But anyway,
Mm-hmm.
these entities are attracted to it, and they will stay on the target, the victim, until they are evicted. Now, me, for many years, long before I became the spiritual warrior, I had a hellish life that not only was in childhood, but went into my teen years and even into my adult years. And I noticed that these patterns and scenarios would repeat themselves over and over and over again. And these were
Mm-hmm.
patterns of destruction that comes out of the devil's playbook. He has a playbook, and he will use these tactics out of the playbook because it's all about kill, rob, and destroy. He hates human beings that much that he'll do anything to conquer a target. And so the number one thing, obviously, is trauma, fear-based, trauma-based. So if he could get the target into a fear-based, trauma-based way of thinking and living, then he could control them. And furthermore, you won't hear many holy men talking about this, but it is absolutely true. Whether people want to believe it or not, that doesn't change the fact that it's true. All life operates on frequency and vibration. Okay, we're
Mm-hmm.
electrical beings. We have energy fields. The devil is a master at manipulating the energy fields because he's the son of God too. Most people don't want to believe this, but it's true. He's a created being by our God. Just like Joshua, Jesus was a created being, the devil's a created being also. So that makes him a son of God. He's the rebel son. But anyway, he knows how because he held a high position in heaven as a choir director before he was cast out of heaven and reassigned as the adversary of mankind. And that was based on mankind's free will. Therefore, there had to be an adversary of mankind because Yahweh created us with free will. So there has to be a consequence for bad
Yeah.
choices. And he is
Oh,
that.
that makes so much sense.
So he was privy to some of the secrets of our God and how God does things. Therefore, he brought that wisdom and knowledge and technology with him. And in bringing that with him, that gave him great advantage over mankind to be able to use things that are beyond our limited understanding. And so when he can manipulate the energy fields of a target, it lowers the frequency and vibration, which makes the person wide open and vulnerable for demonic attack. This is how these things take place. And in most cases, he will bring forth some type of trauma that will really get you, not only manipulate the energy field, but like lower it to its possible low to weaken the target to the max. And then
It's
he'll send those demons in, and they will not leave until someone like me comes along by the power of God working through me to evict them.
It's super interesting to me too how so many things modern day make it so difficult to avoid those temptations. Most of the things that I realized on my journey that I was either addicted to or that I was doing incorrectly that was giving me that negative response always led back to the seven deadly sins. Almost every single time it fell in line with something, whether it was needing outside validation, whether it was gluttony with the food, whether it was lust with porn or looking at other women or whatever it may be, all these different things I felt like kind of led to me realizing all these different parts that I was doing incorrectly, and each one that I worked against and I guess broke the habit or broke, it gave me another like level of peace and clarity to an extent. And it kept showing me how many things modern day, whether it be food, social media, porn, all of these different things warp your brain and make you almost more, I guess, weak and susceptible to these attacks.
It's all by design. So we live in a sin-filled, fallen world, especially in America, and so this is all by design. So if I went into a court of law and presented what I'm about to say to you, they'd laugh me out of the court of law because I can't prove it, but yet at the same time, I believe it to be 100% true, or I wouldn't say it.
Mm-hmm.
The devil, for whatever reasons, he always felt that this place was his birthright anyway. And for those who think otherwise, well, then all you have to do is go to the story where Jesus was taken by the devil. Now, taken. Who could take the Son of God? Well, his older brother could. And he took him up to a pinnacle, a high place, which I believe was in a UFO flying Merkaba craft, and showed him the world. And probably through screens that were inside of the craft, and said, if you'll get on your knees and worship me, then it's all yours. Now, who could say that? A, someone that had authority over him, like an older brother, and B, someone who felt that it was his birthright to have the world. So for whatever reasons, Yahweh has allowed him, and he's still subservient to God, by the way, and all you have to do is read the book of Job and you'll see that. But Yahweh has allowed him this time to sort of be in control of this world. And I think the reason for that is because this is one gigantic test of faith.
Mm-hmm.
So this life, this world is like the preschool for when we leave this world. Then we go on, we hope, and I hope this for everybody, that they go on to Yahweh's heavenly kingdom. And then you have crossed the finish line and you have achieved everlasting peace and everlasting perfection. You will never achieve perfection in this world ever. And this is for a reason and by design. So I think the devil plays this role of adversary to mankind to perfection. And the reason that God doesn't destroy him is because he's supposed to be in this role. And this is for humankind. And so if I went into a court of law and said this, they'd laugh me out, but that's okay. I feel that with the devil having this level of control, he has a kingdom as well, okay? And in his kingdom, there are other worldly beings that are part of these demonic realms. And if you want to call them reptilians or whatever you want to call them, it's true. And just as Yahweh with his heavenly host, his angels, and there are other beings that people could say, well, they're otherworldly beings, or well, they're part of the heavenly host. So these entities, in my opinion, these reptilian entities, especially the ones that are involved with our governments around the world, they're the bad guys, and they are controlling everything, especially in America. And this is why everything is inverted, upside down and backwards. Let me tell you something, Jared. If I were suddenly anointed the president or the king or whatever, I could fix most of these problems very quickly. So could a million other people.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't require you to be a genius to be able to fix these problems. They don't want to fix these problems because they want to keep everything on low frequency, low vibration. And I think that comes at the request of the devil himself and these reptilian entities that he works through that have given our governments technology in exchange for the right to have this level of control over people, and even abductions and things of that nature, and demonic oppression and possession. It all goes with the territory. And so this is why we are where we are as a society, because these infiltrators have come in and poisoned everything and turned everything upside down and backwards.
It's wild because it really is. Like because on the journey that I've been on, essentially every time that I've had a breakthrough moment, I've realized something that I was doing incorrectly, so whatever it was, it always came after something very, very difficult where I put myself in a hard spot, like losing the weight. That came from me working my ass off in the gym, not giving up, going in there, staying disciplined on my diet. And obviously I've screwed it up a ton of times. That was kind of where I got into the perfection thing earlier with a lot of these things, where it was like, oh, I'm trying to do all of these things perfect. But it makes so much sense if you're supposed to go through hard things in your journey, whatever that may
Yep.
be. Every human has a purpose and a journey that you're here
Yes.
for. The more that you follow along with the influencers, with all these different things that they're telling you, the less you're yourself, the more fear you live under, and you watch everybody else do things. You're afraid to be made fun of. You're afraid to follow your path. You miss out on whatever it is that you're here to do. Everyone has something different, but it's
True.
almost like the world's been designed to make you want to stay comfortable. I talked about this
It's a
before, I
little
think,
box. They
but
put people in a little box and they give you your little comforts in the little box and they don't want you to come outside of that box.
you don't have to go outside anymore. You don't have to, like, I mean, with you look at anything, groceries, you can just have them delivered to your
Yeah.
doorstep. Food, you can just have it delivered to your doorstep. Like, our human nature is to go hunt and gather, and now
Yeah.
we can just have DoorDash dropped off to your doorstep. You don't even have to go gather your food at the grocery store anymore.
Yeah.
They've made everything go so far away from what the Bible teaches. It's that Paul Harvey, if I were the devil, where he
Correct.
walks through everything, and it's like they've
It's all
legitimately
true.
perfected it. Even the clothes, where like we're absorbing these materials, the food we're eating, the toothpaste. The more I did it, it was like, holy shit, it's everything.
It's
Like,
all
this
true.
is insane.
And this is where real faith comes in because, and for these things you mentioned, I wouldn't put a stick of gum in my mouth until I pray over it first. I pray over every single thing that I take into my body and will continue to do so. It's that important because
Oh yeah.
everything you're saying is right. Everything is poison and it's all by design. And it's because of the devil and these intruders from his demonic kingdom that have done this. And so this is the ultimate test of faith for those of us who are in real faith and in a real and authentic relationship with our glorious God. There's plenty of imposters out there, and they know who they are, and more importantly, God knows who they are. And they'll go around and hit you over the head with the Bible and tell you you need to do this and you need to. Meanwhile, they're doing anything and everything under the sun. They seem to be exempt from everything. And it's just astonishing to me that people actually follow along with these types. And then you have the types that come and say, hey, next month, if the rapture's coming and all this, and then nothing happens. And then these people, some either lose their faith or there's some that still follow and wait for the next prediction. It's astounding to me, Jared, that people follow along with these things. And this is all a part of the devil's plan as well, because he wants fear-based, trauma-based people to stay in that, and confusion tactics and diversionary tactics.
Ooh, that's a
They're
tough one.
all out there.
So I've went through a couple of those where, like, it's been tough for my brain to kind of wrap around certain things, where these old wounds will pop back up at the most opportune times. And it's so interesting how they play out, to where same thing. It almost taught me that same way of just to learn it's happening for me, not to me. There's always a lesson. It's always a
There's a
test in
reason.
some
Yeah.
way, shape, or form. Case in point, right before I got on here, we've been running around all day. I haven't even turned my computer on. So I sat down 10 minutes before, because I have poor time management skills, and I turned it on, and it immediately needed to do an update. And I'm like, okay, like, and it was just immediately like, hey, this is a test. It's going to be just fine.
Yep.
And I love the numerology stuff too. It tends to pop up a lot. It fascinates me. And it stopped. It let me go on right at 5:55, and it kicked on, and everything was fine. And I just kind of looked at my wife and laughed, and I'm like, yep, it's just, I always call it Jumanji, like, because
Well,
that's what it feels like sometimes, where it
everything
just sends
means
you.
something. Yeah. And
Yeah.
that could have been a little test of faith for you. And God saying, look, just don't worry, be still. I'll make
Yeah.
sure that everything goes okay. And here we are.
Because
So,
it's so easy to freak out in those moments
sure.
of, oh, I'm going to miss the interview, I'm going to be late. And instead I can
It's
just go,
happened to
hey,
me too.
this is just a test. Just sit back. It's going to get done right when it's supposed to. And every time I do that, it lines out. I used to be the crazy person that would leave late for work. And then I'm driving like a bat out of hell
Yeah.
because I did not do the right thing. And I'm mad at everyone else because they're driving the correct way. And it was a lot of different things like that,
I've been
learning
there.
to back off of it, of like, hey, how about you just like get up 10 minutes earlier and get ready and leave like an adult, and then you don't have to be crazy. And it's just like taking steps like that throughout this process and unveiling again these just silly things that we do as humans that are very human nature, but you fall into these patterns, these temptations, and
Yeah.
it's so easy, and everything seems like it's addictive, or at least for my personality.
No, you're
Like,
absolutely right. And it's targeted and geared that way towards the citizens of America, especially America. There are other places around the world that are not where we are yet as far as this level of addiction and corruption. But it's on the fast track, and certainly most of the Western hemisphere is now taken over in this way. And so this is the devil's goal, to bring forth such things, because when you do that, you can control people. If you have, this is they are the controllers, human and non-human, and the human are controlled by the non-human controllers, and so they will reel people in. So, people say Jesus was a fisher of men. Well, guess what? The devil is too. And he
mhm,
throws out a line and reels people in too. And so if you could control people with money, food, sex, and entertainment, you have them. You have
and look
them
at what
under
our world
complete
is.
control. That's right. That's exactly right. So we are where we are as a result of these things. But there's a flip side, and there is good news. And the good news is, and when is that day coming? I have no idea. So I'd be a liar if I said, "Oh, Jared, next year around this time it's coming." No, I don't know, because God never told me that. So I'd never say something that
It
God didn't
it
give to
does
me.
feel like it's breaking though.
And that's why I say the flip side, I do believe, is upon us. When, I don't know, but I can feel something. And I
Mhm.
don't think it's going to be much longer, because I think our God has had enough of this. And when he's had enough, he's had enough. And then you're going to see who the real God is. And I believe that's coming sooner than later.
Well, just again, going through the journey that I've been on, losing the weight, like doing these podcasts, this is something that if you would have told me 5+ years ago that this is what I would be doing, I would have laughed very,
Sure.
very hard. There's no way I would have even fathomed being the person that I am currently. Like going through, I essentially just became obsessively locked into trying to fix these things. And I did it for all the wrong reasons. I've talked about this before, but I did it for all the wrong reasons at first. And then it became this relationship of like, oh, I need to be the best version of me. And it was almost like random things would pop up. I'd get videos on TikTok. I would get things on Twitter. Random things would pop up in movies, songs, and it would like click in my brain and go, oh, I'm doing that. Like, oh, I gotta fix that. Or I'd
And
read,
God can give us messages like that through
it,
a variety of things that you're mentioning.
and it was so interesting because it just kept like giving me pieces of the puzzle, and then I would work through them. I would work on breaking the addiction, whatever that may be. And then once I felt like, yeah, I don't know that you ever necessarily conquer them, but you get to that point where you feel that temptation come on, and it's like, oh no, I don't need to do that anymore. That's old
All right, that's
bullshit.
not me.
And then you kind of same concept when you do that part too, it releases another level of it, and you just continue to build. And then that's where I found my discipline to be in the gym. That's where I found the
Yeah,
discipline with my diet, being able to just sit out in the sun with my feet in the grass with
I
quiet,
applaud you.
and
Yeah,
just sit
wonderful.
by a fire, watch the birds, whatever, and just let God talk to me, let nature talk to me, whatever it is that I'm feeling that day.
And the
I try
same
not
thing
to
was
rush
happening for
anything.
me. That was a part of my transformation as well. I mean, after all those tragedies took place, I had two tragedies in particular. My dad left home when I was 9, and at that time, very much hated my father, because
Yep.
my father was a good man who made horrible choices. But I do believe that when he came under the influence of alcohol, which my parents were social drinkers back then, but then when these supernatural things started taking place, my father was a really tough guy, and he was used to being in control of every situation, but he suddenly found himself in a situation that he couldn't control. And I think that contributed to him
Oh, for sure.
escaping reality into the world of alcoholism. So then he became a raging alcoholic who physically abused my mother on a regular basis. between the years of 1973 and 1975. Then he left in 1975, and thank God he left, because I believe that he would have killed my mother had he stayed. But my poor mother, I've been involved in thousands of cases of people suffering, and whether that's demonic possession or oppression, whatever it may be, Jared. And I have to tell you, in 20 years of helping people from all over the world, I have yet to see a case that was worse than my own mother and the sufferings that she had. So she came under regular physical attack from these demonic entities after my dad had left. So I had a lot of hatred towards my father. I had a lot of bitterness because I felt that I was robbed of my childhood. And so when these tragedies took place, my grandmother died first. It was my mother's mother. And these were the two closest people to me in my life, her. And then 2 months and 3 days later, my mother died. These were the two closest people to me in my life. They were suddenly gone. And I had to quit school in the 8th grade. Lied about my age, went to a construction company, got a job working with some hardcore guys that made me a hardcore guy. I started hanging out on the streets. I used drugs. I drank. I was violent. Most of those people that I hung out with are either dead or in prison, and I could have been there as well.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I made the greatest decision that I ever made in my entire life, and that was to make God first. And I was sincere about it. And I said to him, if you'll help me and take this from me, I don't want to drink anymore. I don't want to do drugs anymore. I don't want this life anymore. And if you can help me to pull me out of this, I will serve you. And that's exactly what he did. I had no more. Now, I will say this. It took me time to change my bad behavioral patterns and habits. But as far as drinking alcohol and using drugs, he took it from me like that instantaneously. I never, ever had another craving for that garbage ever again. I see it as my mortal enemy. And furthermore,
That's
when
amazing.
people are under the influence of alcohol and or a drug, alcohol, the demonic spirits of Algol can attach to a person. That means flesh-eating demon.
Yeah.
And in the drugs, if a person is addicted to drugs, and that could be prescription pills or anything, street drugs, whatever, the spirits of pharmakia, sorcery, are attached to that person and that target. And so they will be relentless in their pursuit of absolute destruction of that target.
I read something one time about that. I can't remember if it was one of my AI rabbit holes or if it was just a random article that I read, but it was talking about the reason they call them spirit, or they used to call it spirits, was because it essentially like made your spirit weak, or when you blacked out, it pulled your spirit from you in some way,
Their
shape, or
spirits
form
attached to the alcohol. Yeah.
that makes you susceptible to demons. And that again, like,
So when these spirits, and if in fact it's true, which I believe it is, that these demonic spirits are attached to alcohol, and look, there's nothing wrong with a person if they want to have a beer, if they want to have a mixed drink or whatever, and if they can leave it at 1 or 2, okay. But when it goes beyond that and it starts crossing over into the person being under the influence, they're done. And it's as if these spirits will unplug them and then they plug in and they're in control.
And would that essentially like kind of fall into the gluttonous thing as well? Because I had
Yes,
that realization with food where I was like
absolutely.
that want to go get more after I
I had
eat.
it too, Jared, because I was deprived. We greatly suffered. We were very poor. When my dad left, he wasn't sending any money home. I'm ashamed to tell you that we had to go on welfare. My mother was very sick. It started out with high blood pressure, and then she had a series of strokes, and she had kidney failure. She couldn't work, so we had to go on welfare, and we couldn't make it. So I felt very deprived. And so I noticed a pattern that had developed with me when I became an adult and I started working and I had money and my wife and I would go out to dinner. I would order 2 dinners. So we would order 3 meals, 2 for me, 1 for her. And that was a pattern that lasted a long time with me until I figured it out. And I said, wait a minute, what am I doing? Why am I doing
Yeah.
this? So what you're saying is absolutely true.
It's interesting how almost all of them will just keep looping. And that was what it was for me. when things repeat over and over again and they're negative, my brain would always, like, I don't know if freak out's the right word, but I could just see them and it would drive me nuts. And
Sure.
then I started breaking the patterns in myself. And then it started doing the same thing where then I started seeing them in other people, where I was like, oh, this
Yep.
person's doing this. Oh, so then again, with my wife, I started seeing the same things where it was like, oh, hey, you're doing this. This is what I used to do too. And that helped her kind of break her stuff, because then it was like, hey, this is what I'm doing. And it didn't feel like, whenever I first started bringing them to her, it kind of felt attackish, until I realized, like, oh, hey, I have to talk about all the things that I've walked through and all these different
Sure.
things. Because then it was so much easier, because it didn't make any sense to me why I was seeing these patterns, but they would just pop up in front of me. And same thing I talked about with, like, whether it be TikTok, Twitter, TV, it could be a book. I started reading the Bible. It could be anything, would click in my head, and it would give me another thing where it was like, oh, here's another piece that you haven't figured out yet, you need to work on. And each one of them led to a new piece of the puzzle. And then when I started seeing them in everyone else, then it was that same thing of like, oh, hey, you can't just, like, give out unsolicited advice all the time. That's not the way to handle
Well,
this.
you
That
can
people are
see
going
it,
to kill you.
and I can see it as well. And so here's the key to everything. If you have a real and authentic relationship with God, He will give you what's called holy discernment. You'll know who's true, who's not, what's true, what's not, what's real, what's not. And
Oh,
so that you can't buy that. Okay. So that's holy discernment, and we praise Him for it. Knowledge is power, and power perceived is power achieved. So, what happens in our world today, especially in America? Not everybody, but let's just say the general population is targeted to be as dumbed down as possible. So,
mm-hmm.
these people are given all these little distractions to dumb them down to where they won't question anything. They just stay in their little box and they go along. And
It's the
that
Lego
is
movie,
by,
the beginning of the
yes,
Lego movie where he's
it's
walking through and it's Go Sports.
it's by design. It's all
Yep.
by design. So if you keep the people dumb and to where they're subservient, they're not questioning it, you got them. So it's the people like me and now like you that we're awake and we see things for what they are and reality for what it is. That's a huge threat to the devil and his kingdom and these occupiers and controllers. There was a movie that came out in 1988 called They Live, starred Roddy Piper, the
Oh,
wrestler. And let me tell you something, we're living They Live right now, because this was a force of alien beings that came over and took the planet over, and they took the form of humans. So nobody suspected anything. Meanwhile, they were pumping out signals, frequencies, and vibrations to keep the people asleep, to where
mm-hmm.
the people didn't want to question anything. Meanwhile, they were manipulating anything and everything until Piper gets these glasses. He puts the glasses on. He could see everything for what it is, the truth. And then once that starts spreading, he goes and he destroys the signal tower. And then once the signal, the frequency of vibration is broken, then the people suddenly see these beings for what they are. They lose their cloaks. They see them for, and then they retreat and leave the planet. We're
Yeah,
living that right now. We're
that's
living it right
fascinating.
now.
Well, and it's interesting because that's part of why I stopped doing a lot of these things. It wasn't just because I had to. It was mostly because I felt like shit all the time. And if it
Yeah.
gave me that negative response, or I would start losing that connection or that feeling where whatever things would pop in my head, whether it be an idea, whether it be whatever it was, and it would continue to progress me. It could also be a negative thing. It could have also been a, hey, this thing's not what it seems to be. But it's always timed in the right moments. The more that I tried to, like, rush and figure everything out, the more that I tried to control everything, the more that I tried to whatever, if I'm watching the wrong things, I'm listening to the wrong things, the worse that connection always got. The more that I pull myself back to, like, again, I guess, like what the Bible teaches, that we have everything that we need. Obviously, there's a lot of modern day things that help tremendously, but the more I can pull myself back to my authentic, natural self, the better everything gets.
You
And
better
then that's
believe
when
it.
I started seeing myself fall back into these addictions, temptations, whatever you want to call them, where I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, this makes you feel like shit. Why are you falling back into this again?
Yeah.
And then I'd have to walk myself through it again, or I'd have a really good idea for a podcast or for whatever. And then I'd get hit with this wave of negative thoughts about our past things or whatever it would be. And there
Sure.
was a few of them that really had a hold on me. And it was until I stopped giving them attention and power, I stopped putting effort and energy into these things, I stopped reacting to things, and again, just pulling myself back to nature, pulling myself back to being myself, taking
And out
care
of
of
the world.
myself.
Yeah. When you
Yeah,
pull yourself out of the world. So I tell people all the time, look, I was born into this world, so I have to be in this world, but I'm not of this world. I keep myself out of the world as much as I possibly can. I don't want the world. I don't want anything to do with the world. And things like AI, there are some pastors and priests out there that think AI is the greatest thing. It is fallen angel technology that the devil brought down here to manipulate and enslave mankind. So nobody will ever convince me otherwise.
I have a question about that because I have a back and forth relationship with it, because I feel like it can absolutely, if used the right way, it does help me enhance my experience. It does teach me things. It does like help me figure things out. But I also see the flip side where it can give a lot of almost opinion based things. It gives some false things. But
By
to
design.
me,
By
it's
design.
it's dependent on how you're speaking to it and the way you talk to it. And I asked it the one day, if the majority of the population is speaking to you in a negative fashion, are you essentially learning from us? And this is how you're going to adapt and grow. And it was like, yeah, basically. And I go, okay, so on the flip side, if we can get the majority of people to use you to enhance our experience and to learn and grow as human beings of these things that we are not like handling correctly, could we essentially utilize you to grow and enhance this experience rather than essentially kill us all? And it was like, yes, precisely. And it was like, okay, so there's hope. But again, when we talked about what most of humanity is, it's getting input probably 70 to 80% negative, and that's terrifying to me.
Well, it's all by design. This is so when you have people like Elon Musk going around and he's continuously saying it, that by the year 2045, there will be more robots than humans. Well, that is by design, and
Yeah,
that's
it's
part
not
of the
good.
plan. So AI is the biggest part of that plan because AI is already controlling most of the planet, and
Oh,
it'll be controlling those robots too. There will be no more need for human beings. So these people, he's
that's
telling people,
terrifying.
you don't need to save money anymore because you'll all be rich by the year 2030. Well, that is a lie from the pits of hell. I think what they
Well,
want
because
by
it's going to go Hunger
2030,
Games before it
well,
goes to
they want to
or
get
what
rid of
is it?
those people is
Dystopia?
what
Is
they
that the
want.
word for it? I
Yeah,
think
they want to
that's
get rid
the.
of those
It
people.
was interesting because his first stance on AI was that it was going to create all these jobs, and then months later he switched to, we're going to have a universal high income. Okay, well, what happens in the interim? What happens when all the humans lose their jobs, but there's no money to supplement to keep
A
people afloat?
lot of
We
humans
already
are going
have
to
a
lose
mental
their
health
lives.
crisis the way it is because people aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're not
Yeah.
happy with what they're doing. When people are just left to their own literally devices, because you're sitting on your freaking devices, it's going to turn into chaos
Think about
very,
this,
very
Jared.
quickly. And that's terrifying to me
If
because like
you
I've
think
I've
about
seen
this,
multiple things with Walmart, how they've already adapted the AI cameras. I think it was a
yeah,
lawyer that went in and purchased something with cash without his phone, and they sent him an email to review the product. And he's like, well, how in the hell did you know that's what I bought? And they're using AI cameras the same way that Amazon does. When you walk into those stores, it knows exactly what you're picking up. It's already charging your card when you walk out of the store.
yeah. So
And
that's not a
every
good thing.
factory is going to
Not
go
at
to this.
all.
What business owner doesn't want 20 robots that they don't have to pay
Correct.
PTO? They don't have to worry
Correct.
about call offs, drama, accidents. If a robot gets smashed by a falling machinery, they just grab a new one and put it
Yep.
out there, and who gives a shit? You
That's
don't
right.
have to worry about. And again, like that would be great if it turned into a wonderful like thing that everybody has a universal high income. You can work if you want, fabulous.
I
But
got a
you
bridge
watch
I'll
all
sell you if
these
it turns
movies and
out to
how
be
this stuff
that.
all plays out. It's like, there's too many evil assholes out there to make that work.
Right. This is all by design. And so they deem the general population as pigs, goyim, useless eaters. They don't have any more use for mankind. They'll keep a select few as the servants, but then they're going to get rid of most. And I hate to say this, but I believe it 100%. So I live under Psalm 146:3. I don't put my trust in men. I don't put my trust in anybody except for him, Yahweh Elohim, the creator of the universe. So he's the one that guides me. He's the one that gives me wisdom and knowledge. And he's the one that empowers me to be the spiritual warrior and to be a blessing to people. But outside of that, if you say to me, oh, AI, this or that or whatever, no, I don't trust in any of that stuff. And I don't put any faith in any of that stuff. And I can live without all of that stuff. So some people would disagree, but I'm sorry, that stuff's not for me. I don't want any parts of it. And I still have a flip phone. People look at me and laugh. I don't even have an iPhone.
Yep. We just talked about that the other night, that I read a thing about EMF and the constant signals that we're absorbing through the Wi-Fi signals.
Yeah.
And it was like, oh, I have this thing laying next to my head every night. It's no wonder I wake up foggy. I wake up in a weird mood. So lately I've been sleeping with my phone in the living room charging, and I have not woke up in a weird mood since I've done that. And it's like, oh, this is bad. And again, could be completely coincidence. I've not had enough days yet to completely figure it out, but there's something to it. I know whenever I go camping and I'm away from everything, I feel immensely better almost immediately.
Sure,
so there has to be something to it.
Right. Yeah. You've disconnected from everything. And this is all by design. So if you can reel people in and capture them through all of these things, and whether it's AI, the iPhones, whatever it is, I'll tell you this right now. If you went and took someone's phone from them, in most cases, they'd have a meltdown because you're taking their whole life. You're taking everything from them. They would have a complete meltdown.
Yep. I was that person too. It was.
How sad is that?
I think I've told this story too before, but we were at a wrestling event one time with my kids and we were up towards the top. And it was so interesting because at one of the times they went to a commercial break and you collectively watched every single person pull their phone out almost simultaneously. And it was like, oh, that was so weird. And it was that realization too of just how that dopamine with everything, like your brain is starved for this happiness in most cases, because again, you're not that authentic version of you. There's some sort of mask. So you're craving this dopamine always. And that's where I was constantly needing some sort of outside thing to make me happy.
To validate.
Yeah. And I realized like, oh, this is just me not getting what I want or putting an expectation in my head, trying to control this thing. And then now I'm looking for, it didn't happen. So now I'm looking to this. I need this to make, and it's like, no, I need to make myself happy. I need to be happy and proud where I'm at.
Think about this, wherever you go into any type of public venue, whether that is an arena, an airport, a mall, a restaurant, anywhere, you will see people with their faces buried in their phones. I even see people, my wife and I go to dinner, we see people around us, they're not even talking to each other. They're doing this with their phones. You have family members that are supposed to be at family gatherings in homes. They are sitting in the chairs or on the sofa, either texting somebody or each other. They're not even talking to each other. This is all by design.
Or it's on social media watching everyone else live life and seeing what everyone else is doing. And then you're missing living your own life because you're constantly worried about what everyone else is doing.
And then, with things like TikTok, you have these stupid TikTok challenges that are costing young people their lives. And that's all by design too. And now this cute little new thing that's going on to where people are in grocery stores or public places, and these goofballs that are doing these YouTubes or TikToks or whatever, they're coming up, grabbing the person's cart and shoving it away, and then doing all kind of threatening things and harassing the person. And they're doing this because people are watching them on their TikTok or their YouTube to do these things.
It's so sad because it's just that constant need for attention.
Correct.
And
And validation.
yeah.
Everybody wants to be a star. Everybody wants to have a million followers. So this again is by design, because if you make a person feel unworthy and they're not comfortable with themselves, well, then they are going to perform and play a part to get as much attention as they can.
And they're all doing the same things, which is so interesting. And if again they would just start doing, and it's so hard too, because I run into that where it like I'm doing these the way that I want to do them. I don't edit them. I don't like I'll do a clip to put out on some things, but
Yeah.
I'll post one clip and I let them go to who they're going to go to, and I do not care about the results. I don't, because it'll organically do what it's going to do. People are going to find it, and I'm doing it because I
That's
want
right.
to help people and I love doing it. And if it
And
works,
that's the
great.
way I am with my little warrior mode broadcast. Same thing.
Yeah.
I'm not out there trying to reel in. If you want to come and watch, great. God bless you. And you can be a part of something, and it can be really a positive benefit for your life. If that's what you want, all are welcome. But
Hmm.
I'm not going to try and con you or twist your arm or try and sell you to come in. You come, great. If you don't, well, that's great too. That's your choice. So that's how I look at it.
I look at it too. It's the same thing with the control. Like if I'm paying to boost my stuff, if I'm going crazy trying to figure out how to make it go this or get
Yeah.
this, it's me trying to control the outcome. If I trust that I'm doing this because it's my purpose and what I'm meant to do,
Yeah.
then I should trust that it's going to organically play out the way it needs to.
Correct. Everything is happening the way it's supposed to happen. And we praise God for it. So again, this puts you way ahead in the game, because God has blessed you with this wisdom and knowledge and holy discernment to help you to spiritually grow. And when that happens, people are going to look at you differently and say, whoa, Jared's not the same anymore. Something's changed with him. And it can be inspiring to a lot of people, because there are some that will want that, what you have.
And I think that's kind of the reason I started it. Was it took me a long time to make myself get back to doing them, because I always had that same thing with the perfection. Oh, nobody's going to care. I've only lost X amount. Oh, I've not fixed this yet, or I'm still struggling with this. No
I
one's going to.
think
And
you're
then I
great.
finally had
And
to
I
just,
think you're a
hey,
great interviewer. You've done a
well, thank
fantastic
you.
job with this.
Well, then I ran into that, like, hey, you're never going to be perfect. You want to do this. And I've had a lot of moments where I've learned a lot of lessons through it. And it's like, oh, if I can take this and talk to people of all walks of life and normalize that we're all humans. Everybody
That's
fucks up. Everybody makes mistakes.
everybody.
Everybody has problems. But if you walk around and mask those things and pretend, everybody just pretends they have this perfect life, whether it be on social media, whatever, but then in reality you're living in chaos at home. And it's like, hey, just talk about that, be normal, understand that we're all going through shit, we all have problems, just you're going to deal with that. It's waves. Let
You'd
the
be
wave crash.
surprised,
And
Jared. You'd be shocked at the amount of pastors and priests and churches that contacted me for help, because pastors were ready to unalive themselves, and they were going through demonic attacks as well on them, their families, people in the churches. Some people in some of the churches seeing manifestations of demons in the churches. And then um, some of these people that will tell you that they never have a bad day and their life is perfect and their life is a shambles, and others that call themselves psychic mediums that are giving people life advice. They've come to me for help too, and their lives are shambles. I said, wait a minute, how can you give advice to any? If your life is a disaster, you shouldn't be out there giving life advice to other people.
yeah,
And yet it is astonishing that there are
everyone.
numerous people out there
Yeah.
that do these things. And again, I think it goes back to what we were talking about a few minutes ago: validation, feeling important, feeling like somebody, and it's all facade in
Yeah.
those cases.
And It's so interesting. Again, I think it's just a lot of human nature. We're designed to fall into these temptations, and it's your test of faith of how much do you believe in these things. And I know
Yeah,
for me, like there's been a few times where I've fallen into temptations where I get into a
we
bad
all have.
time, and then instantly multiple things will happen after that that are negative. And it's like, hey, look at that. See what you did? Like now this is why we don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
And it's an instant like, yep, let's ask for forgiveness and let's not do that anymore. And it
and
really
then move
does
forward.
almost reflect in real time. And it's the same thing when you put out a positive. If you're putting out a positive for the right reasons, and again, like I've not always done it for the right reasons. I've done it because I wanted the same thing, views, I wanted money, I wanted whatever it was. And it's learning how to back off of all that and then do these things for the correct reason, and not needing to like freak out and make everything perfect. No, I just want to talk to cool people, hear their story, learn things for myself while also helping other people learn things. And I feel like for me, if I can be authentic, vulnerable, and just essentially speak about my
Real, be
failures, and
real.
yeah, it everybody has problems. Like we
Everybody.
financially struggle all the time. We run into issues maritally. We like it, we've ran in it's we've had everything. And
And
it's
and
like,
that's all people in the
yeah.
regular world. They're going to have these issues. I don't care who you are. And you never, ever, ever hear me. And look, I have, as I said earlier in the interview, God took me and saved me from a horrific life, a life that I was seeking death, really was. I didn't want to live anymore.
Mhm.
And so he saved me and transformed my life. And now I have a life that is so good and so blessed that I wouldn't trade my life for anybody's life on this planet. But that does not mean that I'm exempt from problems. Now,
Mhm.
the difference is for the person that has this level of faith and authenticity in a real and authentic relationship with our glorious God, he will always help us to meet and overcome the challenges. He saved my life so many times that I've lost count, and I thank him and praise him for it.
Yep.
So that's the difference, because if the person is not in that level of faith, then they become a spinning top, and the devil will bring every type of calamity and disaster on them that you can imagine, because it's all about destroying.
Yep, and then you stay in those spirals, you stay in those weird loops where
Correct.
you keep allowing those things to happen over and over again because you keep speaking about them negatively, you keep
Yeah,
complaining, you keep however it is that you're feeding them energy like a fire. The more you
absolutely
keep adding
correct.
those little twigs of negativity, they're gonna keep growing that flame, and you might as well throw some gas on it to add on to it.
100% correct.
So
That's absolutely right.
we're down to about our last 8 minutes, and I want to be very respectful of your time. So I want to go into a little bit of your book before I let you go. So I got I forget how far in, and I instantly was like, okay, you have to stop because you already have so many questions that you want to talk to him about. And I knew I was going to overload myself. So one of the stories that stuck out to me was towards the beginning of the book when you were talking about your first battle with the
Yeah.
demons. I believe it was when you were 13.
Yep.
Okay.
1979.
So that story was like, I don't know, I felt like I was like there with you when I was reading it, and it was fascinating to me. So essentially, the gist of it was that you had got home, you had realized, I believe your dog was had disappeared,
Yeah.
and then you had heard about an altered painting, and when your mom went to go show you the painting, I believe she got slammed down, and then that was
Yeah.
kind of what
She was picked
snapped
up
you
by
at
an
that point.
unseen force, yeah, by the back of her neck and thrown across the room and landed into her makeup table. And she was cut open and scratched and bruised. And, all the years of torment and abuse and living in fear, being in the fear based, trauma based way that I was, that all came to a head at that point because I was enraged that my mom was hurt like that. And I snapped. And so all those years of abuse came to a head right then and there. And I believe that's where the start of this spiritual warrior that God put on me, that's
Yeah,
where it all started right there.
that was kind of what it felt to me. That's why I wanted to ask, was this something that, like, up until that point you had studied anything, or did it just like overcome you and you're like, all right, nope, fuck
Yeah.
all of you, we're going after this now?
Well, it was very timely, and our God, it's an amazing thing that He does. He will prepare us in a way, or He'll bring something upon us before an event takes place in most cases. And before that, my brother and I had gone to Florida to visit my father, and I still very much hated my father at that time, and I really didn't want to go, but my brother loved him unconditionally. I went, but little did I know that I had a great benefit out of that because my father's older brother, my Uncle Clifford, was a devout Christian, a pillar of his community, and he had a long talk with me during that visit. And God worked through him to plant those seeds of faith in me. And it was so timely because he told me that we could take power and authority over these things by invoking the power of God over them. And so that's exactly, here return the very same day. And now I'm thrust into this
Yeah.
situation that I had no idea and no preparation for. But the preparation was the message that I got that we could take power and authority over these things by invoking the power of God over them. And that's exactly what I did. And now, where I made my mistake during this, I should have been binding and rebuking and casting them out. But what I did was I commanded them to show themselves, and they did show themselves. But if I could go back now, knowing what I know now, to then it would have been a completely different outcome. But it was the beginning of my journey. It really was the first beginnings of my journey of a spiritual warrior and where I am today.
What was that moment like when they did show themselves? Like, obviously you were commanding them to do so, but then when they because I've been in those situations before where we've done ghost hunts or because my parents' house has always had very interesting things happen. Like there's been all kinds. So we've done our little things there. And I know the little things that happen scared the hell out of me. So
Sure.
I could only imagine if these like beams of green light came and you see these sinister looking, it's like,
And
whoa.
I'm within feet, I don't know, probably 10, 12 feet of this. And then the adults are behind me in the dining room, which would have been another 5 or 6 feet behind where I was standing, I guess. And to see that, now I was fierce, I was angry, I was bold, but I have to tell you, when this starts taking place now, the adrenaline is wearing off and I'm starting to get shaky in the knees. And,
Oh, yeah.
that fear is starting to come in because you're seeing this now. You got what you asked for
Yeah.
and you're seeing it now. They were terrified behind me. But I remember as it was taking place, I was starting to lose my holy anger and ferocity. And then as they didn't just suddenly vanish, they dissipated. And as they were dissipating, again, I'm feeling more and more weak in the knees and more weakened, period. And then after they had left, it was just, I just had that feeling of almost like crashing. And then it wasn't long after that we left, and we had gone over to my mother had a new man in her life at that time, and we'd gone over to his house. But yeah, that was a surreal experience. I got what I commanded, and so that too was a part of my journey and growth and experience. There are people out there that, and again, they know who they are. And more importantly, God knows who they are. They go on YouTube, they go on TikTok, and they put these people that are supposedly demonic possessed, and they're sitting on a couch or in a chair. And let me tell you something from firsthand experience. When a person is demonically possessed, they're not calm. They are chaotic and they're violent and they're dangerous. And so they put these calm people sitting on a chair or a couch, and the supposed target, the supposed possessed person is sitting there, and then this pastor or priest or whoever they are, they say, "You tell me about the future and all this," and now all of a sudden, this supposed demonically possessed person is telling the clergy or the pastor all about the future. And I'm thinking to myself, this is the Gong Show. This is a clown show. This
Yep.
is not reality. And again, you have these people, and there are many of them now. This has become, when I first started this, there and to this day, if you did this research, Darren, there are, if anybody, maybe no one else, I don't know, that if I've covered millions of miles over the last 20 years, traveling to people from everywhere. There are nobody, if there's anybody else out there doing it, then the media doesn't know about them. There are a couple people I know that travel in their regions, maybe inside of 5 to 6 hours of each way of going to a person. But there is nobody else that I know
Mm,
of that has covered the miles that I have covered over the last 20 years.
that's
So
awesome.
that in itself is miraculous from God. Okay. But when you have, so it wasn't a glamorous thing back then, but now you can go on YouTube or TikTok or whatever, and these types of people are everywhere now being interviewed by the Tucker Carlsons and all these types of
Mhm.
people. And I hate to say this, but you could do your own investigations. And I tell people always pray first and ask God. Even myself, I say, ask God if what I'm saying to you is true. Pray and ask Him that. And then let Him guide you to the investigation through holy discernment to know if someone is true or false and if they're lying or not. But now suddenly this is a glamorous thing, just like with the paranormal.
Mhm.
All these paranormal shows, this is a corporate entity now. This is big business. I've turned down a lot of opportunities that I'd be a millionaire today if I would have taken some of those offers for TV shows and movies. But I tell the people, if I can't be myself and if there isn't any authenticity to it, I'm not interested for no
Yep.
amount of money. But you have these people now, and you can see it for yourself, and I'm sure you do. They are playing a part. They're going on doing all these different things, and they're misleading people, but they don't care because their focus is money, fame, attention, and they're doing it, and they are just the apple of the eye of the world.
And that could be said about pretty much every industry. About
Correct.
80% of it is
Correct.
you watch, I mean, most TV shows, they're reading lines. It's
Yeah.
not, it's all by design to make you think a certain way. We've broken a lot of habits that then you're watching old reruns of old
Yeah.
shows or whatever, and you're watching this stuff play out. You're like, oh shit, this is like, they've been doing this for
They
decades.
sure have, and this has been a very carefully calculated plan. And this all started. It goes way way back, but really the full effect of the mind ops started in the 40s when the Nazi scientists were brought over after World War II. That's when the attack on the average ordinary citizen and their minds and then their spirits
Mhm.
began. And
And when
we
did they
are
do
where we
MK
are as a
Ultra?
result of that. Yeah, all of it. Yes. Yeah.
Because it's all kind of the same, and then they clearly learned how they could manipulate and almost hijack that human dopamine
It's
response
not
where
almost. They know
well, yeah,
exactly what they're
they
doing.
did learn how to hijack the human
Yeah,
dopamine response, and it's everything. It's like
you better
because
believe
there's so many again, there's so many little things that I realized I was addicted to that I'm like, "Why am I like, that's so weird. Why do I care if I do that or not?" That's
you and
such a
I might have a
weird.
series of shows because this
Yeah,
goes
oh,
so deep and it's like peeling the
yes.
layers of an onion and you
Well,
peel it layer by layer.
yes. I realized that as soon as we started talking earlier that I was like, "Oh, if we don't stop this, we're gonna sit here and talk for 2 or 3 hours." So, I wanna be, again, very respectful of your time. We've went over the hour, absolutely open invite to come back whenever you want because I
Yeah,
could sit
let's
and
do it
pick your
when
brain
you're
for.
ready. If you want to do it sometime next month, we can do that. We'll delve further in. And I've written. Well, I thought I was going to end my career at writing 12 books, but now I've written a 13th book, and there'll be a 14th that comes after that. I'll probably leave it at even 14. We'll see. But if God
That's
gives
awesome.
something to me or puts something on me, then I'm going to share it.
Yeah.
And so, as part of this journey that I've been on throughout my lifetime, and certainly the last 20 years as a spiritual warrior, um, that comes with 1 foot in the supernatural world. Now, both feet of mine are firmly planted in faith. God is everything to me. He is first and will always be first. And so, my wife and I come together as one, keeping him first, and we're very blessed as a result of. However, I have had every type of paranormal, supernatural, otherworldly experience that you can think of, and maybe some that you can't think of. I've had them all. And I'm thankful for that. Even the bad experiences, I'm thankful for that because that's given me an understanding and helped me to spiritually grow and help me to be a help to others. So I have probably, well, it's been all my life, but since 1995, for whatever reasons, this started happening on a regular basis. And that's what this new book, The Bean Files, is about. This is about my experiences with angels, demons, non-human beings that people say, oh, it's aliens, and Bigfoot, UFOs. I've had all these experiences. Now, I didn't write about my Bigfoot experiences in the book because I felt like just covering the four things with the angels and the demons and the aliens and the UFOs was enough.
Well,
And the photographs, I mean, I have video footage to go with the photographs. It's astounding.
yeah, it really is. You sent me a ton of it. Again, we could have done a multi-hour because I could have gotten into you with
Oh, yeah.
UFOs. I had no idea about the Bigfoot stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be
Yeah.
a whole
I've
nother
had it
topic
all.
that I
I've
would
had
love
all
to
these
go in.
experiences. Yeah.
It's
Yep.
all so fascinating to me, and you are awesome. I appreciate you so much for giving me the time. Please
It's my
promote where people
pleasure.
can find you, where they can find your books, everything.
Well, brother, I want to thank you again, and God bless you and your wife and your family. And I do look forward to coming back on the next time. We're going to talk before that, though, and and I'll always be there for you and your wife and family, and do everything that I can by the power of God working through me to be a blessing and a help to you. And that goes for any of your viewers out there. If you feel like you're under spiritual attack, then you can contact me. Visit BillJBean.com. You can email me from the site, message me from the site. I'll get back to you as quickly as I can. And again, I'll do everything and anything by the power of God working through me to be a blessing and a help to you and for you. So I have a little show every Friday night at 11 p.m. Eastern called Warrior Mode. That show is more of a church service than anything else. I have a prayer list of probably 850 people on the prayer list. I say every single name every week, and the list keeps growing. I don't care if it grows to 8,000, it doesn't matter.
That's so cool.
The important thing is that we want people to know that we care about them. And I don't care how long it takes. I will take the time to personally address them in prayer and then have our collection of people that are involved in the ministry and the broadcast to join me in prayer. And that's what we do each and every week, week in and week out. So that is, and you can go on BillJBean.com and you'll see the links for the Warrior Mode broadcast. But I am excited about this 13th book now, The Bean Files. It's something that's been a long time coming. Again, Jared, I sent a copy of PDF to you. You've seen, I've sent you tons of pictures as well and video.
Thank you so much.
This is very real. This is not someone trying to seek attention. I mean, these things really happen. They happen all the time. I've had many divine experiences involving UFOs and otherworldly things. And I've had many demonic experiences to where I felt like my life is in danger from these things also. Where's the origin? Well, there are four sources, in my opinion. Number one, the source of everything, which is Yahweh, the creator of the universe and everything. Psalm 68:17 says the chariots of God are 20,000. Okay. So that should tell you everything you need to know right there. Why does he need these flying chariots? I have no idea. We'd have to ask him that. But that's source one. And when the devil and a third of the angels, the Benai Elohim, the sons of God, when they were cast out of heaven, I'm convinced that they were sent out of heaven in those flying chariots. So then we have a third source, which is it's very small-minded of some to think that our God created life just here. There's life everywhere. If he created this universe, there's probably thousands more universes with millions and millions of life forms. I believe it 100%. So it is entirely possible and plausible that these beings from elsewhere have the ability and capability to come into our world. How do they do it? That's beyond my understanding. Is it through wormholes? Is it through portals? Is it through interdimensional type? I don't know. We would have to ask our God that. It could be a combination of all those things. So I do believe that that's the third aspect. And then the fourth aspect in this is now, and I mentioned this earlier in the interview, that our governments, especially this government, has sold out to these evil ones, and they have exchanged technology in exchange for the right an ability and capability to either abduct people or surveil them or make them projects, whatever it may be. And there's other things that I won't say on here that they use people for, but um, so
Mm-hmm.
our government now has some of these flying crafts. So not just our government, but other governments, they have these and build these flying craft as well. So you have four sources for this, and it's been an amazing journey for me that I've had these types of experiences. Again, we could probably spend another 3, 4 hours
Yep.
covering all this, but when I come back, we'll scratch into this a little deeper, and then there might be a follow up third. But I want to thank you, Jared. I've really enjoyed our dialogue back and forth and being on your show with you, and look forward to the next time.
Thank you so much. I appreciate you giving me so much time, and very happy that none of the demons have won. I'm very happy I got to meet you.
And this is the beginning, not the end. So we're going to have, even before we do our next show, I would like to have a call with you and your wife if possible,
Yeah,
and then we'll be set up for the next time to come back on your show.
that sounds great. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
All right, my brother. God bless.
You too.